Hey lovelies, welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta, episode 4. Now, I feel like I know everyone is talking about the craziness that Kenya did to Brit, and we will talk about it when we see it next week. But I do want to talk about the disgustingness that Brit is doing on this episode. I do feel like Brit was out of order. I think Brit was doing too much. Brit is a fan that should have stayed as a fan, in my opinion. I feel like she's doing entirely too much, and I'm not here for it. Now, you guys know that I don't really see it for Kenya. I never really have. However, let's start with what Brit is doing. Brit, since day one, has had a hard-on for Kenya. There is no reason for you to be so pressed that this woman did not hug you, even though she hugged you and patted you. Like, what are we doing? Why are you so pressed? Why do you need a hug from Kenya? It's giving you need Kenya's validation. I feel like she initially thought she was going to come in and be buddies with Kenya and be kikiing with Kenya. But when Kenya did not really engage with her on that level and they did not connect, I don't think she knows what to do with herself. So we are going to talk about it. I do also want to talk about certain things that I picked up from this episode that I really want to talk about. Can you believe Drew did not know what a narcissist is? What kind of craziness is that? We're going to talk all about it, but please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And of course, let me know what you would rate this episode in the comment section below. Now let's get into it. I'm going to say this in passing real quick. Porsha's scene with her team is why I think a lot of people like Porsha. Porsha is witty, she's funny, she's energetic. I love that. I really enjoyed the scene with her team, how they were kicking and the banter. Now, my thing is, if you notice, someone on Porsha's team mentioned that Drew reached out to them. And Porsha genuinely looked shocked. So my question is this: when is it ever okay to reach out to someone's employee who you met through the person, who you guys have worked on projects together for the person in question's brand, only for you to reach out to them directly without a heads up to your so-called friend? That is shady behavior. And I think that people are missing it because Drew is acting so calm, cool, and collected, and Porsha seems to be the one lashing out. But let's peel it back a little bit. Let's take it back a little bit. Why would you reach out to somebody from Porsha's team and not give her a heads up? That is some snake-ish, in my opinion. That is completely unacceptable. I'm even surprised that people think it's okay, and people are roasting Porsha for that. It's like, let's take it back a few notches. If I was doing business with someone or I employed you as a brand ambassador and you reached out to someone from my team about your personal project and did not inform me before, I would have a problem with that. It's common etiquette. It's simple. Now, Drew, whilst I may agree with you that Ralph has narcissistic tendencies, you're out here calling Ralph a narcissist, but you don't even know what it means. That is a madness to me. If you really truly believe he's a narcissist, you would know what the word means. You would be able to give examples of his behavior that gives you the impression that he's a narcissist. Outside looking in, we see it. But you not being able to know the definition and be able to articulate it is mind-boggling to me. I will say, I was happy to see them have a civil conversation about the children and about their divorce. I do appreciate being able to co-parent and have the conversation. Now, do I think that that is going to last? No, not with Ralph in that basement doing a podcast, saying anything whenever he feels like it. It's not going to last. People like Ralph may be cool 1 second, and then when you say something that they perceive to be a threat, they lash out. And so I don't think this whole being civil is going to last forever. I think they may be able to move on to a more civil place when he finally leaves that basement. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'll let you guys let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now, my favorite scene of this episode was Kenya and Kelly at the hair spa. I feel like this is what Brit wanted. and now she's lashing out. I also can't believe I'm saying this, but I really like Kelly. Initially, at first, I didn't know how to place her with the way she came for Porsha on day one. But I will say, I do like how she is showing up in this moment. I do think it's really nice to see, and I'm absolutely here for it. More of Kelly, please. It also sounds like she has a lot of story to bring on the show, so I'm looking forward to getting to know more about her. She actually seems very interesting on the show, so I'm looking forward to getting to know a lot more about her. Now, apparently, a little bit about Kelly that we found out was she has a restraining order against her ex-husband. I don't know if they're fully divorced. I think they're going through the divorce of her husband, right? Now, because he allegedly threatened to unalive her in court, that is some crazy, nasty work. Like, you couldn't even keep it together for court. Most people will be abusive outside of closed doors or in closed doors outside of the courts. But for you to show up to court and be abusive in front of the court, of course, they're not going to let you see the children, because no one can trust that you're not going to do something to the children when you threaten their mother publicly in court. It's like she has so many witnesses. So I suspect that even if he's going to get contact in the future, it's probably going to have to be in a contact center with a lot of other people present, because they can't trust the safety of the children in the hands of somebody that is that abusive. That is crazy work. Also, when she talked about they had made the businesses together, but she was running the business and she wanted him to still be at least a silent partner. He can be getting the residuals from the business, but she can continue to run the business. He wanted to throw the whole issue away. And that is the thing about dating vindictive men. Vindictive men don't mind if they lose everything, as long as you don't get to keep it in any way. And I think that's what it is. He wants her to have to start from bottom again, even though they have built a successful business. Why can't you put out your feelings to the side and think, wow, I still get to benefit from this thriving business, even though we're getting a divorce? What is the problem with that? But instead, you want her to not have anything left. That is very vindictive. And that's why I always say, like, when you date a man or get to know a man, when you notice any vindictive traits in him, run for the hills. Because once something doesn't go his way, even if you guys don't get a divorce, he starts to punish you by doing malicious, crazy, evil things to you. He may not even leave you, but he will be so unkind to you that even staying in the relationship would be unbearable. So watch out for people like that. Now, I will say what I liked about the interaction between Kelly and Kenya was sharing some of her fears about being a business owner, putting all her money into the spa, and of course not knowing if it would work. Now, as a business owner myself, I know how it feels to feel like you're pouring so much financially into something, and it is a gamble, it is a risk. But you just have to hope for the best, stay positive. And I love how Kelly reminded her of that. And she was like, it's going to work out. You know, when God puts something in your heart, that is what Kenya needed in that moment. And I'm glad she had the right person to be able to pour into her in that moment. I really do see Kelly and Kenya being good friends. They have such a nice banter. They really, really work. They have really good chemistry on screen together. I enjoyed them together. And I hope we get to see more of Kelly and Kenya. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to Brit and Cher, her sister. Now, I feel like Brit is obsessed with the whole image of being married, that Brit still doesn't get where Cher is coming from. And I say that because if you listen to her confessionals, and even her confessionals, she kept saying that she feels like she's taking issue out with her husband because she isn't in that sort of her relationship, or she's not in a marriage or something along those lines. That's what she was insinuating. I don't think that is what it is. I feel like your sister, Brit, I'm talking to you, Your sister wants to be vulnerable. She wants to share things with you without having an audience of your husband in the background. She wants to talk to you about what's going on with her. She feels comfortable being vulnerable with you. She doesn't feel comfortable being vulnerable with your husband. I don't think she feels like you're not going to tell your husband, but she just wants to have sister time without his interference, without his opinions. I know personally, when I call a friend of mine or when I call my friends and I'm trying to talk to them, I don't want to hear your husband chiming in on our conversation, especially if it's something emotional. If it's something light and we're just bantering, fine. That's all nice and fine and dandy. But when it's something emotional, when it's something private, yes, do I know you're still probably going to talk to your husband and do pillow talk? Yeah, sure. However, I don't want to feel like I'm telling your husband. If I want to speak to you, I call you, I speak to you. If I want to speak to your husband, I call your husband and speak to your husband. Now, I don't be calling nobody's husband. Let's just be clear. But I'm just saying, if she wanted to speak to the husband, she could have said, oh, Brit, is Mike there? Let's talk. And then you guys could have had a conversation all together. So I feel like people need to respect people's boundaries. Just because you're married does not mean that every time your friend calls you, it is now the opportunity for your husband to chime in, especially when she's vulnerable, especially when it's an emotional conversation. Nah, fam. Like, let's be able to have a one-on-one. If you want to go relay the message to your husband, that's your husband. Go do that in your own time, but not on my time, right? So that's just what I think. But you guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let's talk about Brit a little bit before we talk about Porsha and Shamia, honey, because that is messy. Let's talk about Brit. Now, my thing with Brit is, what is your problem, Brit? Kenya hugged you. Why are you so pressed? As soon as she hugged you, she doesn't even know you. She doesn't know you. You want what? Like hugs and kisses and, oh, Brit, the great Brit, how art you? Or how art thou? You know, like what do you want, Brit? It's given you're obsessed with Kenya. It's given you're a fan of the show. You've watched the show for years. You loved Kenya and you thought you and Kenya would be frick and frack. That's what it's given. So instead of trying to get to know Kenya, you sound like you have a hard on for Kenya. Just get to know her. Set up a meeting, hang out, say, oh, I'm just trying to get to know more about you. How are you? Kiki, do your thing. She just seems entirely too pressed about Kenya's attention, Kenya's affection. She needs to cool it all the way down. Now, let's talk about Shamea and Porsha for a second. I have a lot of things to say about Shamea and Porsha for multiple reasons. Porsha, girl, you were wrong. You were wrong, honey. You couldn't shut up and listen to the music and just like hear what your friend is singing. You couldn't now, first of all, I will say, when I first heard the sound, it did sound a little bit like Drew. I cannot lie to y'all. I initially was like, oh, that sounds like Drew. And she said that sounded like Drew. And 100%, but coming from the best friend, honey, it comes off as you are a hater. It comes across like you a hater. It comes across as you're being jealous, honey, and it's not a good look. Now, that may have not been your intention, but it very much is given jealous. It's very much given pressed like a panini. It's very much given you don't want your best friend to shine, okay? It does not sound like you were happy for her in that moment, okay? That does not look good. It is not looking good for you, Porsha. I hope you clean it up and sort it. Now, do I agree that it sounded a little bit like Drew? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Shamea's voice is so beautiful. I don't think she needed that much auto-tune on it or whatever it is that the sound was doing. but she sounded good. So yes, it did sound a little bit like Drew at the start for me. Now, one thing we also have to be careful of is it's an edited show. What I don't know is whether or not there were other things that were said, like, oh, congratulations, babes, like that sounds really good. Sorry, I initially thought it was Drew, something like that. Because in the end, it looks like they were all right. They got in the car together. It didn't seem like there was any sort of like drama or anything. Now, it could be that Shamea was like, okay, I'm going to wait to address it later. But it wasn't giving any sort of like weird energy in response to Porsha. Remember when Porsha was late, Shamea had that negative energy towards Porsha when Porsha tried to talk to her in the closet. Right? So my thing is, I'm like, okay, is it that she wanted to sort of save face and not say anything to Porsha in front, which could absolutely be it. But Porsha, you were wrong. Next time you need to sit down, listen, and don't be out here acting like you know your best friend's voice when you don't. Now, I will say, Shamea, I think also you should have played it for your best friend before. I don't really like when best friends don't share information and then wait until everyone is in attendance and then you play it for them. I don't think that's right. You see how you played it for your sister? You could have invited Porsha over as well and played it for her. You guys could have vibed together. That could have been a thing. You didn't have to wait until the whole group to then play the song for her. You could have sent it to her. You could have played it to her. You were recording this experience. This is a new experience. So you're recording. You couldn't invite your friend to any of the studio sessions, your best friend. Yeah, that also makes things a little bit suspicious for me. Because I'm thinking if I was doing something, making music, and you're my best friend, best believe I'm going to be talking to you about it. I'm going to invite you to some sessions. I'm going to have a listening party with you and anyone that is close to me. We're going to laugh. We're going to kiki. I'm not going to have a group of girls that I'm newly getting to know and are not my tight friends and then bring it up there. It just doesn't seem appropriate, in my opinion. So like I said, Porsha looks like a dang hater. She looks jealous. But I do also think Shamea should have played it for her beforehand. Two things can be true. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now, one quick thing I wanted to talk about with Brit and Kenya. Sounded like Brit was allegedly threatening a pow. I'm just like, when is that ever okay? You're saying that in front of her, you're threatening a pow. Like, that is crazy, nasty work. There is no reason for anybody to be out here threatening another person with a pow ever in life. Totally unacceptable. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If I had to rate it, I would rate it a 7. I feel like I really enjoyed the scene with Kenya and Kelly, like the 2Ks. I love it. I love the banter between Porsha and Kenya when they were talking about the food and stuff. It was like a nice, lighthearted banter. I hated seeing Porsha and Shamia at the last scene. I hope they get it together because the dynamic bestie duo that we were expecting is not what it is given, and they need to change change it. If it's the storyline, you all need to cut it out and be best friends again. Okay, if that's what that is, please cut it out. And Porsha, baby, I don't know what's going on with you this season, but you're coming across as a hater. And I hope a few more episodes we get a little bit more context and you don't seem and look like a hater, because you ain't looking good. You're looking like the villain of this season, my love. And if that's the intention, it's not coming off right, okay? Now, that is all I have to talk to you guys about today. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Don't forget to like, share, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and tap that bell button right next to it so you know every single time that I post. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.